Justice for Kenya is what we need to call that episode yesterday. My name is Cecily Jamela, and this is All Right, I'll Watch It. It's a channel that I've created that honestly is my response when people are like, you gotta watch this show, you gotta see this movie, it's amazing. And you're like, okay, I'll watch it. So that's my response. Sometimes I'm eager to watch a show, other times I'm like, all right, I'll watch it. So that's the meaning behind the channel. I have another channel called Cecily Jamela that I've had for a few years, where I was storing some of this Real Housewives and other kinds of content, but I just found that it was just like a hodgepodge and the algorithm didn't like that for me. So I wanted to separate this out, especially because I have some really quirky things that I watch and it would honestly probably not mesh well over there. But over here, it's all about watching TV or film or that sort of thing. And so that seems to be much more pleasing to the algorithm. So we will be on this journey together from entertainment, from TV, from film, from all kinds of things. I live in Los Angeles, so there are times where I'll be able to go to premieres and that sort of thing, so that's fun, and I would love to bring you guys in on that. So I'll watch it is the show. Let's get back to this freaking review. I had all this stuff written about Shamea and her sister and that sort of thing, so let's actually go through that fast and in a hurry, and then we will then go over what the hell happened at the end of that episode. Now, the Balmain party, that Balmain, is that how you say it? I'm not a fancy girl. Balmain, I think it's pronounced. That party was cute. It was definitely eye-opening to see how Kelly kind of floats in a crowd. She really is a person that thrives to entertain, and I love people who are like that. She's fun, she's fiery, and I think that we saw more of her personality this time around. The first episode I was turned off by her, but I feel like, oh, okay, she's kind of like the glue, and she's very opinionated, and I really liked her interaction with Kenya, and we'll get to that a little bit later. The thing that I did not like was the comment about the 90s nose that Shamea made. I don't know how we got there. The body shaming was uncomfortable, and especially when we as Black women are particularly careful to shame and to offend some of our darker complected sisters. It just, to me, I felt like these are conversations that we should not be having in general, and you of all people should also know how it feels for people to say things about your appearance, right? You know, there's a sensitivity that we all have in general. And so when Angela called her Flavor Flav, at first I thought that this was a dig on not only her aesthetic, her complexion, but also her femininity. And I had no idea that she was Flavor Flav for Halloween. But I was like, you know, Angela is kind of, she's in the middle. She's kind of like, some people would say she was light skinned, some people would say she's brown skinned. But either way, I was like, Angela, are you having this moment right now? Are you calling her a darker complected man who last I checked wasn't the most handsome? So you see where I'm going with this, right? So I was like, what are we opening up right now? We cannot open these things up. And I know, listen, my parents are from the South, so I know those kind of things fly. Real talk, those digs do fly down there. People are not the most conscientious about, you know, colorist comments and that sort of thing. I've heard it myself. I've seen it myself. I've seen family members say things. It's just like, that is so inappropriate. Like, do you know how inappropriate that is? So that was a rough patch for me. Drew, I don't think Drew wants to be likable. I think Drew prefers staying on the edge of being acceptable, doing what should be done. I think that's why she has a hard time making girlfriends. Seeing her interaction with Dennis, I'm gonna jump around, really pissed me off. even if there was nothing between her and Dennis, the fact that you are so comfortable in this space with him while also on the receiving end of betrayal with your own husband, there's no connection. She's absolutely, I think it's interesting that she called her husband a narcissist, because I think there are two narcissists in that relationship. She just doesn't think about the fallout. She doesn't care about anyone's feelings. It's just hard to watch. And what is the man bringing to the table that you can't get on your own? There's so many reputable like people in Atlanta in the music scene. This man is literally just kicking it in the studio with you. And I want to say this too, and I think that this is a problem that I've had personally, and this is what I'm observing. 2 episodes ago, Portia had a meltdown because she was upset that, you know, she could not really count on Dennis to not add to her woes while she's going through this divorce. And feeling betrayal on one side, especially from your husband, makes you extremely sensitive to betrayal in other areas of your life. And I'm not going to state that Dennis was ever the perfect partner. And I've not always, but I wondered at times like what his interest was in her, because he seemed a bit lukewarm. But I just also want to say that women should not expect loyalty from men just because you have a child with them. And what I believe we're seeing is we're seeing Dennis's, right? His true intentions. He's always wanted to be connected to the show, to this whole scene. It bigs him up, it gives him a platform, and perhaps that's what he's wanted all along. Sure, he can like you, sure he can have love for you, and all of those things, but I think when it comes down to true loyalty, where someone would have the consideration that though I want this action might hurt someone that I care about, and the fallout of what that hurt might do to my child, I would rather just bow out and I'll get it another way. He's not thinking anything about her. And so Portia needs to understand that no one is going to have her back like certain people in her life. That would be her mother and maybe her sister. And maybe there's a small few. But just because you have a child with someone does not mean that they are going to be loyal to you. Look at it like this. And from my own point of view, it is a science experiment. The sperm met the egg. You had a baby. The child shares both genes. At the very least, you should expect that he will do the best thing for that child. But even still, in reality, him filming with Drew or anyone else outside of your approval really does trickle down to his daughter, because it makes you uneasy, and it creates, I can only imagine, it causes distractions and stress. And if he truly cared about the well-being of your child, he would not put you in that position. So what can you do at this point? You can't make somebody do something that they don't want to do. You can't teach somebody if they've already grown and they're already going to do what they want to do. You have to pivot. I wouldn't talk to Dennis again on air. This thing with Drew will blow over if you pretended like you didn't care. I mean, I don't know if the music career is going anywhere, but where's the storyline going? It's lackluster. It's not like he's Leon or some handsome guy that's just going to be whisking in and out, and you're going to be wondering what would have happened if you got with him. It just, it's a bit of a clown show. And if you let it go, because Drew will find something else to talk about and do by the next season, then you'll be fine. And then I would truly X him out. He would never be on camera again. And that's how you get him back. Now, one thing I want to say about Portia's business meeting, I don't know if you guys know this, but her cousin was sitting on the right side of the table closest to us, kind of a tall, heavy-set woman. She had long hair. Her name is Londi, and Londi was on the Portia Family Matters, I think it was called that. But her own show, her little offshoot that she had when she was marrying her getting ready to marry, what's his name? So that cousin was the same cousin that was kind of getting her together and talking about, just basically being her sounding board on the show, and she got it together a couple times. Well, unfortunately, that woman passed away last year in August at the age of 34. And I think it kind of sucked because they didn't say, like, they didn't provide a dedication on this episode. And though we didn't know that that was Londi, unless you know Londi, I thought that that was in poor taste, and Bravo should have offered something there because she was in the episode. And I can imagine that Portia and family seeing that episode would think, oh wow, like she was included in that taping. So that was bad on their end. Kelly and Kenya, this is the reason why I like this group. I love that Kelly is the type of woman that she is vulnerable, but she is also strong, right? And while Kenya has a tough exterior, she's a very vulnerable person. And once she's in that energy, she's like silly putty. Like, so I thought that they were a nice balance. They went straight to the issues. When Kenya said, "You got a bodyguard?" She was like, "You have a mark and I have a mark." Kenya was like, "What, man?" And she discussed the restraining order, the need for security, the fact that the man tried to take the business from her, the fact that the children can't see him, the fact that I'm saying fact for a reason, the fact that he attempted to hurt her in the courtroom. This man is should I say he's a pistol, since we're going to talk about pistols? But I mean, he's definitely unhinged. And I love that Kenya said he tried to color purple you. And she said, but she waited to excel him. This right here is the kind of thing that makes me happy that I'm black, because I promise you, like, we grew up watching all the same shows. We watch the same movies. And so we get the references. That's where my mind's going to go. My mind's going to go straight to The Color Purple. My mind's going straight to Waiting to Excel. You ask these kids if they've seen something nowadays, it's like, huh? No, I don't think I've seen that. Like what's going to happen to the black community? It's just too much content and too much stuff out there. But like, these were things that we watched like every year when it came on CBS. But anyway, I really loved that moment of bonding. And very quickly, Kenya opened up and she started talking about her spa and talking about, her putting all of her money into it, and, and being afraid, like saying, I've spent my daughter's college fund. That's a scary situation to be in. And then when you're a businesswoman, you've got to be a risk taker. You've got to take those risks and assume that you're going to be fine. That's the only energy that's going to be rewarded. And I think that Kelly was the perfect person for her to discuss this with, because she understands the sacrifice behind putting everything into something. And the best part, and I'm getting chills, was when she said, we're going to get her through college. We're going to get her through college. Do you not know that she would be my friend for life? Even if my daughter didn't make it through college because I'm in bankruptcy. The fact that she was like, you got this. I believe in you. And you need to believe in you too. We gonna get your daughter through college. And then got up and did a little jig. I'm like, you little cute thing, you. So yeah, yes, I'm going to flip and flop per episode on how I feel about these girls. Do not, because I don't know her like that. So if she's consistent throughout the season, then she'll definitely be one of my faves. But Kelly went from being like, because the first episode I was like, what is this? To like, I like it. I like her. She seems sensible, and she definitely is a girl's girl. Brit meeting with her big sister Cher, I think is her name. Listening to Brit talk about how to chastise her sister about blocking everyone. You can't block everyone that you don't want to talk to is crazy, because you weren't really that open to Kenya to hear her out when you accused her of being mean to you. You essentially blocked her in a sense. So I just thought immediately, like, what? Girl, bye. Anyway, I had a hard time with this part. I didn't find it that interesting, and I think that my mind was already kind of going towards, we don't necessarily take this woman seriously. And there was something about her sound. I'm very sound sensitive. I don't know if she has like a deviated septum, but there's a nasal tone that is kind of hard for me to hear. I'm one of those people, I can't remember the condition where nails and scratching the chalkboard and whispering, and if you have a whistling S, like those kind of things, oh, that'll just eat me alive. Her nasal tone is starting to kind of like drive me into that place of crazy. And I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm not. You'll know it when I mean. I'm not shady like that. Like I'll be like, I don't, and that's it. You'll get to know me, trust. So when I looked at her nose in her confessional, it looks a tad bit lopsided. And so I was like, maybe she's recovering from an accident or surgery. When you have a deviated septum, that means your airways are obstructed and the air doesn't go through. And when you talk like this, obviously, so there's something going on there nasally that she needs to fix, because it's a little distracting. What other notes do I have? Let's just talk about this Black Excellence dinner at this bank. Looks like a vault. The vault, I think it was called the vault in Bankhead. I picked up on Miss Thing. You know what? Why don't we just talk through it?
Portia, stop. You know my voice.
That's a vibe. No, that's
so this is the part where Portia is
that whole time.
Portia's being
saying
shady.
to
She knows
Shamea,
that's not one of my songs.
That's not you. That's
we don't
not
sound
you.
the same.
That is the weirdest.
You never heard your
weirdest
best friend's
moment,
music?
and I think it's.
You don't know how your best friend sounds?
I really think that is sad, because I think it was a matter of like, you are sharing this here, and it was a realization that Portia was like, it's not just me and Shamea. Shamea is friends with all of these people. So she was sharing it to get approval from the group, which is a first step to step outside of your alliance or friendship with somebody. Think about it like this. We're best friends. We go into a group. We have the way we talk. We have the way that we do our thing. I ask you for advice for certain things. You give me what I need, vice versa. Then we join a larger group. And then some of the things that I do with you, I do with the group, which I'm also presenting an opportunity where I'm being vulnerable with you guys, and you guys can reflect that energy, which means that I don't necessarily need just one person's approval, and she doesn't need approval, but just hear me out. Sharing my gift with everyone creates an opportunity for us to become closer. Also opens it up for other people to be drawn to me. Oh my God, you can sing, girl, you're talented. Like, that's another reason why I like you so much. So I think that honestly, Portia got jealous, and instead of just being quiet and allowing this to happen, her doubling down and being like, that's not you, was a moment for her to say, why don't I know this? Why didn't you tell me? And to do this in that moment in front of everybody also goes to show her lack of respect for Shamea. And maybe also too, and maybe it's not a disrespect thing, it might also be a lack of boundaries, because they have been best friends for a long time. You know, she might feel comfortable to treat her like an extension of herself. I should know about everything you're doing because you're my best friend. No, actually you don't. I haven't told you. And well, why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to. And that might be where Portia is picking up on, you know, she wants to have her own independence from the relationship. She doesn't want to be questioned on certain things. She might be holding some things back. And here you are playing your song, seeking attention, which also means that you're breaking out from being up underneath me. Now, having $9 million house and a husband that loves you and a family and all that stuff, like all those, she's winning. She's wealthy in so many ways. She's wealthy in her health. She's wealthy in her relationship with her own family. She's healthy in a relationship with her husband. Like, she's winning across the board. If she lived in a house that costs $100,000, she has things that people will never experience. I say that with I say that with true sincerity, and I love that she's the one that's experiencing it, because she seems to be the most genuine, and you wish that for genuine people, you know. So I don't even know if she knows it, but I love this image in the mix of all these women, sans Angela, don't know what's going on with Brit, of women who are on the receiving end of like domestic abuse and highly contentious relationships, right? So let's watch the rest of this, and then we're going to watch the body language. I just wanted to talk through this with this in the background because there's so much going on here. Angela arranges for this lovely dinner at the restaurant called The Vault in Bankhead. So a couple of the girls are talking about how like it's in a bad neighborhood or whatever, and they let a few of those fly when they're here, but ultimately they end up having a good time. Angela arranges for them to play a game, like ask questions, and Brit reads her question. Can you speak to Brit kindly and not with an attitude? And she says, I didn't write it, promise. And then here, Kenya's like, I can do it. And she's like sincere. She lowers her octave. Brit cuts her off and says, sweetheart. And that's where things kind of go left. And you can see their body language. You can see that Brit is stuck on being angry. And Kenya shuts it down. Especially when Brit used her own catchphrase against her, which I thought was hilarious. That just goes to show how much of a fan you are of the show. And it's okay. It's okay for you to be a fan of the show and to feel a little insecure about being next to some of these women, especially Kenya. But we all clearly see that this is all in your head. No one has to talk to you, and no one has to talk to you nicely. It's a choice, but it's kind of hard to be respectful to someone when they are acting in ways that are uncomfortable and downright violent. The fact that you went straight to the bitches. I don't even know you like that for you to be calling me a bitch. And number two, like, you pretended as though you were the person that needed protection in this scene right here. Where's my husband at? Let me get my bearings. And then once your husband walked upon you, then you start talking about the pistol, and people gonna learn today. What did we learn? We learned that you are unhinged. We learned that you can't handle the heat. The Real Housewives show is about y'all going to beautiful places, getting dressed up, and fighting. You will not be able to survive. You have to be able to handle your anger and disperse it amongst the episodes. Kenya didn't do really anything enough to you for you to be that angry, let alone cuss her out, which goes to show you're too hot-headed to be on the show, and you're eventually going to hit someone or get hit. And your husband is not going to be able to protect you for what happens next. You might also end up in jail. How do you function in society if you get this mad? My first place to go with people who piss me off is to ignore them. You're literally asking this woman to be nice to you, and then you are cussing her out moments later. She says she speaks to everyone nicely. That's your cue to accept, to engage, and then if you see that she's talking to you disrespectfully, then you approach her again. That is how women respond. Even if you felt in your heart of hearts that she was not being sincere in that moment, she offered you the comfort of kindness, not only to you but to everyone, because it was important for her to let you know that she doesn't treat you differently. But you didn't accept that, and that's why you are where you are right now. I want to be I just want to be honest because it's my channel and I get to, but I just think that there's something going on upstairs, and I think that she's a potential hothead and that she should be on the show. The fact that you guys didn't fire her this night just goes to show that you don't care about the safety of these castmates. You guys have to have therapists on call. You have to have people that you can that are constantly monitoring situations. I'm not talking about just producers, but people that can see somebody might be at the end of their rope. Why would you put these women in potential harm with someone who threatened to shoot them? Like, make it make sense. Why is she still on the show? There's nothing that you can tell me that that Kenya does that will be worse than this. I know about the picture. I know all that kind of stuff, but the way that this woman went about threatening her life. I mean, I think Kenya just fired back the way she knows how. It's a weird response. Absolutely. It's a fucking weird response. Kenya's weird. But this is not good for the brand of the show. If I wanted to watch Love and Hip Hop, I would turn that on. If I want to watch the Baddies Club, I'd watch that. This woman is Baddies Club or Real Housewives. She doesn't deserve to be here. I don't care how much money she has, but money doesn't buy class. And who wants to hang out with somebody that, no, not I'm going to beat your ass, but I'm going to shoot you? Andy, that's the energy? I mean, do you know us? Do you get us? Like, black women? We don't bring the purse with the gun to dinner. Her husband was outside, therefore maybe she could feel somewhat supported, but why would you need a gun? You can't handle words, so you think that you're going to exert yourself with curse words and, gregarious behavior and the threat of a pistol, and so you're going to make someone respect you. You're going to make someone respect you. How do you do that? We know you want her to respect you. We can see that her presence, her mere presence bothers you. You have a problem with the way that she hugged you. You have a problem with what she said, that it's all you. It is all you. And it's sad that you're not that introspective to know how to correct your own behavior or to know when to settle and soothe yourself down. I am acting out due to insecurities or something else, or I'm being triggered and I am acting an ass on this show. Like, you have a business and a family to represent. How could you let all of these things be compromised by just an emotional response to someone that really wasn't that invested in really hurting your feelings? That's not what we got from her. We've been watching her for years. She wasn't trying to make you feel a certain way. And even if there was that little sly comment about the marriage thing, this is what they do on the show. You have to be ready for them to read you down. Do you remember what Nene did to Kenya when she first got on that show? She read her about that refrigerator and everything. If you can't stand this sort of this kind of environment, you're really going to make it really weird to watch, because I don't want to watch people that are going to be harmed. I don't want anyone that's going to piss you off, and next thing you know, they're going to, you're cursing, and a bitch here and a bitch there is one thing, but this fucking bitch, like, girl, like, I'm too old for this. I wouldn't hang out with you in real life. And you guys are supposed to be aspirational, and there's nothing about this that was inspiring. Well, that was it. I don't know what Kenya's going to do next week, but I just can't imagine it would be worse than this. I just can't. And I feel like if she brought a weapon, I wouldn't be mad, because you're scaring me. And that's not very ladylike, sweetheart. What are your thoughts?